Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for coming to our webinar. If you have any questions, you can type it in the chat. And if you also have any questions for any of our guest speakers, you can go ahead and type that in the chat as well. We'll go ahead and do those in the order that they're received. And also, we're going to be running a free raffle for a free 30-minute mentoring session with Jan. So if you want to consider yourself lucky, definitely stick around for that. And so, yeah. We're going to go ahead and get started. So without further ado, please welcome the founder of Fortune Homes team, Mr. Yan Ma.
All right, thank you very much. Nicholas, can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly, Yan.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And guys, I'm so excited about being able to do this virtually, so that way we can continue our business regardless of what's going on out there. For those who do not know me, my name is Yan Lam. I'm the founder of Fortune Homes. And we started real estate investing about almost a decade ago and have been doing this ever since then. We started out part-time, and within 2.5 years, I was able to replace my full-time job and started doing full-time in real estate ever since then. So, guys, before I get started with the actual presentation, I want to first of all say Happy April Fool's Day. I'm glad you guys were able to join this presentation and realize it's not an April Fool's joke. And I also hope that everyone's staying safe out there with the coronavirus and the pandemic that's going on out there. And also, hopefully you guys are being very productive with all the stay-at-home orders from Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So regardless of what's going on out there, we never stop learning, and we always prepare ourselves for the next opportunity. And in times like this, it makes me think of the mindset of the great giants from the past. And one of them that stands to my mind is Mr. Rockefeller, where one of his most famous quotes was that he always tried to turn every disaster into opportunity. So it's amazing, guys. There's always a national crisis in a very regular interval, whether it be every 10 years or every so many years. There's always some kind of national crisis. And in every national crisis, there's opportunity, and millionaires are made during those crises. So it's bad that a crisis is going on. We cannot control that. However, what you can control is how you can take advantage of that crisis to be able to serve the many, serve the masses. And while you're serving the people, you can make a whole lot of money as a byproduct in that aspect. So tonight, guys, our topic every month that we have our meetup is that we have a separate topic for every month. And this happens to be our topic of building your real estate dream team. Okay, so this is the 4th month out of the year. And in the first month of the year, we talked about how to get started. And then in February, we talked about how to negotiate. Last month, we met at the Spring Hill Suites in Gainesville. We talked about how to wholesale. Mind you, that was the last meetup we did. Actually, when we're out in a big gathering where we had a whole lot of hand sanitizers and everything like that. But since then, we are now starting to do everything much more virtually to be able to accommodate a lot more people in the comforts of their home, and as well to stay safe from what we had to do with our not doing social gatherings. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to share my presentation, and then hopefully you guys can get a chance to see that, okay? But what's going to happen, guys, and how we're going to operate is I'm going to go through these slides. We're going to train and what our experiences are, share some stories and what we've done to be able to achieve success with particular team members. And then we do have a couple of guest speakers on who's going to be able to share what they do for us and what they can do for you guys as well as they're part of your team as you build your real estate portfolio, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with regards to building your real estate dream team, okay? All right, so the first slide, first of all, why do you want to have a team mindset? All right, you guys have seen the acronym where TEAM, team. It means together everyone achieves more, and that's there is no I in team. A lot of people try to do it out of their own ego, out of their own desires, but they can never achieve great things without having a team. Okay, so let me show you an example. And there's 4 ways to produce income. All right, the first way is where most people are is they're an employee. Employees earn a W-2. And they get their taxes withdrawn first before they get their net pay. All right. And every areas of income, guys, where you produce the most income, there's certain core values that you guys have a mentality for. So for people who are generally employees, they're conditioned in a very specific way. They're conditioned to want something that's safe, something that's secure, and something that has benefits. It's amazing that every time I talk to people, I ask them what they're looking for in an opportunity. Generally, they'll say these three things. They're looking for safety, security, and there's benefits. Okay, how much health insurance am I going to get? How many vacation days will I get? What's my 401k contribution? Things like that. And they look for the benefits and security. And it's amazing that most people who are in this area here, but you know, saying what's going on in the pandemic, there's not much security there. All right. The people who are most secure right now are the ones who earn income through businesses and other investments. All right. Also, the second area are people who are self-employed. These are people who what we consider to be loners. And they generally have their own practice, such as a doctor, or lawyer, or CPA, and they generally have a certain mindset as well. And their mindset is, if they want it done right, they got to do it themselves. They're perfectionists, and they don't believe in having other people do their job when they feel they can do better. So if they're a CPA, they feel like they cannot do better accounting than anybody else. If they're a contractor, they feel like they can do the best drywall compared to everybody else, and they don't believe in having a team and doing any of that work, and that's why they stay small. Those are small businesses, self-employed small businesses, all right? People are freelancers. And then on the right side, we have people who are business owners. Now, I'm not talking about self-employed or small business. I'm talking about big business owners. And these are the people who generally have a system that they are working, they're implementing, and they're selling to make it work. And these people have a very specific mindset. Their mindset is they're always focused on having a team. They always focus on having a network and systems, and also leverage. The idea of leverage is your ability to accomplish more with less effort. And from that right there, they're able to achieve big things and make a gross amount of income because they're serving a lot more people because of their systems. All right. And last but not least, the fourth quadrant are the people who are investors. And these are the people who simply have a mindset of having existing capital working for them. So they have money already, either from their source or other sources, and they simply make that money work for them, and they earn a return on investment. All right. So we want to focus you guys on having the mindset of a big business owner and also an investor, and not that of an employee and not of a self-employed. So we're focused on a team right now because we want to be in a business owner quadrant. All right. So first of all, who should be on your team? Well, in real estate, would you agree that, real estate can be very litigious? A lot of people can sue you. I mean, this year alone, we've had 2 separate lawsuits on 2 separate occasions with 2 different things. But if you have a good attorney, they will know how to deal with that. In addition to that, as you're building your business, you'll be dealing with a lot of contracts, and you'll be dealing with a lot of situations where you may not fully understand the language of the contract, because the language of the contract are written by attorneys and not normal people. And sometimes to me, when I read them, it's like a whole nother language, even though it's still written in English. I don't fully understand the interpretation because I did not write that, okay? I truly believe that attorneys write up contracts for the purpose of having other attorneys review it, so both of them can collude and make more money, and making sure that we don't understand it as normal human beings. So as an attorney, what you want to do when you have an attorney, obviously you don't want to hire any attorney. You mean a divorce attorney won't help you much in your real estate stuff. A bankruptcy attorney may help you if you're in that situation, but they won't help you in growing your assets, all right? What you want to do is have an attorney who understands your real estate business and understands how to protect your assets. In addition to that, as you get started, you want to think ahead in the next 3 to 5 years on where your business will be, right? And so they will help you strategize your expansion to make sure you structure things in a specific way where you protect your assets. In addition to that, they'll prepare your limited liability company and corporate documents to make sure that everything's in order for you to run your LLC in a legit manner. All right. They also will help you with estate planning. So if the worst happens, they can be prepared for that. And also, you want to have an attorney who is willing to fight for you. And throughout my entire career, whether it be in real estate or other businesses, I have worked with a lot of attorneys. And a lot of attorneys, what they do sometimes is they'll have a very cliche response to a very specific situation that you may have. I'll give you an example. All right. If you have a traffic ticket, now everyone here who has driven a lot probably has had a traffic ticket some point in their life. And if you talk to an attorney to try to defend you in a traffic ticket, most likely what they'll do is they say, well, we can go ahead and negotiate for you to amend the charges from speeding you speeding 75 and down to 65, so that way you get less points on your record. Now, you may not have been speeding at all, but you were charged with speeding, and it's up to them to prove your innocence, right? You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Now, what happens a lot of times is the normal attorney will say, well, yeah, we can go ahead and do this easily because I know the judge, I know the prosecuting attorney, we can get it reduced. So that's someone who's very cliche, who's not willing to fight. But if they say, well, Jan, if you truly believe you did not commit that act, you did not speed, then I'm going to fight for you and try and prove your innocence. You want someone with that attitude who's not willing to just settle for what's normal in the courtroom. They're willing to fight for you for what's legally right and entitled to you. All right. I want to give you guys an example of what an attorney has done for us in one of our situations. Now, here's a property we had under contract in Alexandria a few years ago, and it was going through a short sale approval. And what happened here was that this was a veteran, and he had some underlying health issues and was elderly. And he had some situations in his life where things were not going too well. He had judgments and other liens that were placed on the property, in addition to his mortgage that was already underwater. So it took us a long time to be able to negotiate the short sale. So let me tell you the whole history here, okay? Here's a copy of the contract. We'll be able to get it ratified for $300,000. Right, between our LLC and also the owner, Mr. Michael Patrick. And the contract was ratified. And once it was ratified, we sent it over to our short sale negotiator to be able to go through the negotiation process. All right. So the contract was ratified. And then we took 9 months to negotiate this whole short sale. All right. After 9 months, a short sale was finally approved. And in our contract, once a short sale is approved, and we have evidence that was approved by the seller's lender, we go ahead and send in our deposit to the title company. All right. And that's exactly what we did. We sent a $3,000 deposit, which is exactly 1% of the contract price, which is $300,000. Okay. We sent it to escrow. They cashed a check, and they went ahead and deposited escrow. Now, the seller, unfortunately, around this time, after the check was already cashed, and we're waiting for him to get his stuff together to move out, unfortunately, he passed away due to underlying health issues. All right. So even though the short sale was approved and the seller passed away, we stuck in a situation where the contract was ratified, but we can't perform because the seller passed away. All right. There was an estate document where there was an executor who was supposed to sign on behalf of the estate, which was his daughter. But for whatever reason, his daughter did not want to have anything to do with his estate. She didn't want to have any underlying liability that she thought she would have if she was to sign on his behalf. And we kept on trying to let her know that, hey, listen, you're not going to have any liability for signing on the behalf of your father. But for whatever reason, she chose not to act on that behalf. All right. So we were stuck in a hard spot. Months went by and settlement could not happen. We were trying to get to purchase the property because we were still interested in buying. But the daughter, who was the executor of the estate, did not want to perform. So therefore, since we realized that there was no hope in settling this deal, we went ahead and requested the deposit back from the escrow agent, and they refused until there was a release signed. And I told her, like, well, look, the seller passed away. Who can sign the release? And she was, we kept on going back and forth logically what she was saying made no sense to me. All right. And weeks went by. And telling them, hey, listen, we have an executive of the estate. They did not want to perform. They did not want to return our calls, and they did not want to proceed with this settlement. So we need our contract, null and void, so we can get our deposit back. And again, they refused to return the deposit. So I finally called my attorney, and they made one simple phone call. All right, one simple phone call, and I have no idea what he said, but I wish he had it called on a recorded line so I can use that as reference. But finally, after the attorney called, within 5 minutes, the title company called me up to apologize and then asked me where the deposit should be sent and wired. So I gave them my checking account information for an LLC and then wired that money directly immediately after my attorney called. I had called back my lawyer and I said, hey, listen, what did you say to them? And he said it's an ancient secret. And I don't know what he said, but whatever he said worked. I guess I don't need to know because I was more focused on the result than what he actually said. Okay, so that's the value of having a good attorney on your team for situations like that you may not have to account for. All right. All right, go on to the next slide here. Who else should be on your team? All right. Well, would you agree that a CPA would be a good person to have on your team? Absolutely, because once you're self-employed and once you go into the business area, now you start having to pay for self-employment tax. You start having to pay other federal income taxes that you didn't have to pay for before. All right. What happened to the presentation here? All right. Let's go back to the slide here. I'm not sure what happened there. Went back to the beginning. All right, a good CPA. A good CPA is someone who understands the business tax laws and your situation, so that way you can leverage off reduction in tax liabilities. He can advise you on what you can expense, what you cannot expense, what you should do, what you should not do to be able to take advantage of the current tax laws. And I hope you guys would agree that every year the tax code changes. All right. So as time goes on, I've never seen them remove tax laws. I've always seen them add on or amend past laws. So the tax code gets more and more complicated, and therefore you'll need someone more specialized who's proficient in it as a career to be able to know what to do to take advantage of that situation for your tax purposes. Okay. Remember, the number one expense in your household is not your mortgage, it's not your rent, it's not your groceries, it's not your car payment, but it's actually taxes. Okay. The majority of people pay more in taxes than they do on their mortgage. When it comes to federal tax, state tax, and also local tax combined together, the average American pays roughly 51% of their income to the local, state, and federal tax code. Okay, so what happens, guys, if you think about it, that means most people work 6 months out of the year just to work for the government, between the state, local, and federal government. So that's insane. And what you guys want to do, if you're smart, is to find different things that's available in the tax code to reduce your tax liability, so that way you can take home more of what you've made. This is saying that it's not how much you make that makes a difference, but how much you keep of what you make that makes the most difference. Okay. Now, what's next? The next person you should have your team is a very good real estate agent. Okay, someone who's investor friendly, someone who is possibility focused. And what I mean by that is that I don't want to hear a conversation with any one of my team members say, well, yeah, you can't do that. I never want to hear what cannot be done. I want to hear what can be done and what's possible based on what I desire. Okay. And I remember when I first started about 10 years ago, I interviewed a lot of agents to figure out who I was going to work with and build my team. And a handful of them would told me, I'll meet with them, Panera Bread, or have coffee with them. And I'll tell them, hey, listen, this is what I'm looking for. And this is the price point I'm looking for. And here's what I'm looking for, and different criteria. And a lot of times they say, well, Jan, that's not possible. All right. And the moment they say that, I definitely don't want them on my team, because they're very small. That's small thinking. I want them to think big and what's possible instead of being creative. They went ahead and shut down and said exactly immediately that what's not possible. Okay, I believe that when you say it's not possible, that you cannot do that, that's a sign of mental laziness. All right. And when people have a very difficult problem or challenge to solve, if they're focused on how can I solve that, or how can I do that, or how can I do that, now they put their brain to work, and so they can innovatively, creatively figure out a way to solve that problem instead of mentally shutting down and saying that cannot be done. All right. I want someone who's mentally strong and not mentally lazy. Also, someone who does their own marketing as well and does lead generation for their listings, and also for buyers, because you never know when they market for listings, they may have a distressed home where they can give you as a pocket listing for you to be able to get that deal under your belt. All right. Someone who's an experienced value assessor, so that way they know exactly how much your house will sell for, or how much the appraiser will come in as. So that way they know how to deal with the appraiser when it comes to resale time. All right. So, and someone who's really looking out for your business and not just after a commission. There's so many agents out there who, when I talk to them, I literally can smell commission on their breath. And it's just horrible, because as someone you don't want on your team, you want someone who's looking out for you, and in return, you look out for them. All right. All right, here it goes. All right, so the next example I have here is a property that we have out of Manassas, where we actually purchased to fix and flip. Okay, so the renovation was done. Here are our numbers to share with you guys. We purchased the house for $200,000. All right, the renovation cost $56,000. We added a couple. We added a bathroom, remodeled the kitchen, remodeled the basement, and things of that such. We listed it for $399,000. What we did was we looked for comps in the neighborhood. There were none, because it was a very small neighborhood, and nothing really sold in the prior 2 years that we had it. So we priced it very conservatively at $399,000. And then after 1 day of being on the market, we received 3 offers, all above list price. And this has to do with an agent that knows how to really market the deal and knows how to market to a list of people that they ever have contact with, to be able to get the maximum traffic on the very first 24 hours, if not the first 2 weeks. So that way they can get the top dollar offers for that property. Okay. Also, because there has been no houses in that neighborhood that sold for the past 2 years, he now has the challenge of dealing with an appraiser of selling a house and top market dollar in that neighborhood. And he has to justify why it's worth that much, and no other house has sold for that price in the past 2 years. So they have to work with the appraiser to be able to get it appraised at a very specific amount where the contract price is. So that way we wouldn't have to reduce the price because of a bad appraisal. All right. Also, someone who knows how to work with the home inspector to make sure that they know how to communicate certain things. So that way they don't scare the buyer off with certain things that they see on the home inspection report, and knows that we can go ahead and fix things that may be a concern to them. So that way they don't back out because of things they don't understand from the home inspection report. Okay, we ended up selling the house at $417,000 and some change. So that's roughly $17,000 above list price. It's very exciting, and we're able to make a lot of money on that deal because of that multiple offers in that situation. Okay, so what I want you to do, guys, one of my team members who've been with me since the very beginning. We actually took the same boot camp class back in 2011, almost 10 years ago. And he's been with me ever since then. And now to this day, we've been through a whole lot in thick and thin. So I want you to have Mr. Kurt Morton here, who's with Fairfax Realty, share a few words on how he's helped us out as an agent and how he's helped other investors out as well. So Mr. Morton, I turn it over to you, sir.
Hey, can you hear me?
There you are. Go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me on?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Sorry about that. Possibility mindset, right? I can get the phone to unmute. Really happy to be, talking to you guys today about, some of the benefits of working with a good agent. I think Jan definitely covered a lot of things that I think are really important when you're trying to decide who you want to work with. Definitely some of the things that really ring home to me are, I've talked to a lot of people that, kind of come to me for a second opinion, and they've been working with some other agent and they keep telling them that, oh, these are good deals. And, like John said, like, you really got to be wary of someone that's just looking to get a commission and not really understanding the real, the flipping business, and doesn't necessarily have your best interests at heart. So, if you're ever in a position where, you're working with someone and you feel like they're really pressuring you to, proceed with something and that doesn't make sense, stop, go back and look at the numbers again, make sure you really understand what you're getting yourself into. Definitely working with someone that understands the business of flipping, you really understands how to, calculate what the value of a property is going to be at the end. Also a lot of times too, with, other agents, I see, people being told pretty lofty estimates of what something could be worth. In this business, you don't want to be basing your numbers on your best case scenario, right? You want a realistic estimate of what something's going to be worth. And then definitely, working with a investor-friendly agent, you can build up a relationship. Investors, as an investor, you shouldn't be paying a full commission. The idea is you're doing, lots of business with this individual, and so there should be opportunity to, cut some costs out of the transactional process. And that's, where having an investor-friendly agent can really help. There's a lot of real estate agents out there. I highly recommend to people, you're potentially investing and risking a lot of money, especially when you're first getting started. Working with someone that maybe you trust, but isn't necessarily the most experienced, like a family member or a friend that's maybe, has done a couple transactions, or you're trying to help them out because they're getting started in the business. I mean, that's all well and good, but, when you're talking about, making or losing tens of thousands of dollars, you really want to make sure that you understand everything that has to happen maybe before you work with someone else that doesn't. So again, picking an experienced agent that understands the business can be really valuable, throughout the entire process. I've had clients that I've worked with where, they get a month into the project and then everything starts falling apart with them, and they actually really need a lot of help to figure out how to get back on the right track. And that's where, the years of experience of investing and flipping can really come into play and help kind of get people back into, hopefully a more favorable position by the end of it. And the other thing too is even working with an experienced agent, if they're not used to working with flips, can be a big detriment. I'm sure Jan could probably share, some stories of past deals that, because of how he, got the property, he had to make agreements on who he was working with, and these were experienced agents, and they ended up doing things that ended up costing lots of money. So I'm thinking of more than one that I'm sure Jan can share that's happened in the last 2 years or so. But anyway, I think it's just, again, you want to make sure you work with someone that understands the business. And build a relationship and have someone that you work well with. That's really, some of the most important things.
Absolutely, Mr. Morton. I really appreciate your insight there. One of the things that I value Kurt more on as well is that he's also an investor like myself. He's done fix and flips. He does buy and hold. So he can see he can see his things in that aspect of that in that full angle as well, in perspective. So it's been very valuable because he treats every deal that we do like his deal. And so if we have a tight spot, then he'll definitely help us out. And of course, we do very well, then we'll hook him up as well. So it's all about teamwork, right? So appreciate Mr. Morton. I'm going to go into the next slide now. Okay. All right. So who else should be on your team? All right. In addition to an agent, well, you definitely want to have a title company on your side who's actually licensed and able to do business in the states that you want to do business in. So in this case, whether it be Virginia, DC, Maryland, or a combination of all three, you want to have a title company that does very good in all three areas and understands title work and how to deal with certain things in all jurisdictions. Okay. Someone who's also investor friendly, someone who understands the terminology of contract assignment. So if you guys are deciding to, if you have something under contract, you can choose to assign the contract to wholesale the deal for an assignment fee, or you can choose to buy it on your own and understand the private lending documents that are sent to you from your hard money lender. So these are people who understands what you're doing for a living, and they are very, very investor friendly and understands the etiquettes of how to talk to the seller. So for example, if you're trying to wholesale a contract, and the seller comes up to you, to the title company, and asks, okay, I see a thing here of an assignment fee of X dollars, of $20,000 or $30,000. What is that? Well, the title company needs to have the etiquette to fully understand how to explain that to them without scaring the seller away. And our goal is to want the seller to sign the documents and have settlement be completed. All right. So you want someone who knows how to talk to the seller to make sure they are confident on the transaction and that everything's going to go okay for them. Someone who does a thorough review of the title. So if there's been past judgments, or if there's been past issues that may cloud the title, such as a death of one of the title holders or things like that, they want to be able to have insurance and from the owner's insurance and also title insurance to cover all aspects if needed. Okay, this is especially important in DC, because DC, some of the stuff can be so complex, I cannot fully understand it. And I have a master's degree in engineering. Okay. So you want a good title company with a good title attorney who knows exactly what to look for to ensure that when you buy the house and fix it up or whatever you want to do with it, you have no problem selling it after it's all said and done. So whether your exit strategy is to buy and hold and sell years down the road, or to fix and flip and sell short term, they want to make sure the title is clear, so that way you have no problem selling it. I've seen so many issues where some of my students have actually used preferred title companies from auctioneers, and later on found out that the title company was based out of India. And I have no idea how someone in India can do a transaction for real estate in the United States, let alone get all that done. But, it sounded very shady. And I told them, hey, listen, this doesn't sound right. I suggest you switch title companies to our title company, which they did. And the moment they did that, they reviewed the title, the abstract, and the situation. And our title attorney advised my students, said, hey, listen, I really suggest that you back out of this deal, because there's so much going on with this litigation process from the seller that's going to be sitting on the queue in the docket for years to come. And you may have trouble selling it if you're going to flip it 6 months from now. So he went ahead with that advice right there. He walked away from the deal and prevented a bad situation from getting much worse. So he saved a whole lot of time, a whole lot of effort. He was very hungry for a deal. He wanted to do that deal, but he rather get a good deal instead of a bad deal. And that's what our title attorney advised for him to do. Okay, so that's very good advice to prevent bad situations from happening. All right. In addition to that, you want to have a private lender, because when you guys start doing real estate and talking to motivated sellers, there may be situations where the sellers are so motivated, they really want to sell. They're only willing to sell at a discount if you can close fast. All right. So if the title is good, you want a private lender who can close within 24 business hours. And our private lender does do that. The moment title is good and title company has done all the stuff they need to, and they can insure the title, they can close within 24 business hours. Okay. So you want someone who's cash plentiful. You don't want someone who say, well, I don't think I'll be able to do this deal this month because my money is deployed. You want someone who's cash plentiful, and that way, if you have a deal come up, you have no doubt they can close the deal. All right. Also, someone who is good at giving you a second opinion on the value. If they're going to take a look at the deal, they most likely will ask you what the renovation plan is. Are you going to add any bathrooms, any bedrooms? Are you going to add any square footage? Do a bump out, a bump up? What are you going to do, right? And based on that, your renovation plan, they can give you an accurate assessment of how much you may sell for once the project is done. So that way, they can base that on the exact loan amount that you'll be getting, including all the construction costs, that you'll be estimating along the way with your contractor. All right. So a private lender has been very good because obviously they don't want to lose their money. So it's in their vested interest to give you a good value assessment to make sure they're not that they're being conservative and they're not blowing the number out of the ballpark. In addition to that, they only make money by loaning money, right? So if they loan more money, they make more money. So they have an interest in loaning more money, but they also have an interest in not loaning so much to where you get yourself in a situation where you may not be able to repay it. So there's a fine balance there. If you have a good private lender to be able to do this value assessment for you and also can close quickly. All right. Moving on to the next slide here. All right. A traditional lender. All right. So a private lender is someone who can close fast. But then eventually later on, if you do have deals come up to where you have some time to close, where the seller's not so motivated, where they don't need cash immediately, you can go ahead and find a traditional lender who will need to do an appraisal. They may take 3 to 4 weeks to close, but someone who will have cheaper interest rates. All right. I failed to mention earlier that a private lender is fast, but they're also a little bit more expensive than a traditional lender. All right. Sometimes your interest rate may be 8, 10, 12%, and they may charge 1, 2, 3 points on your loan. Whereas your traditional lender may charge something a little bit more closer to prime rate, whether it be 5%, 6%, or 7% in this day and age, and then also charge less points, maybe half a point, maybe 1 point, but it does take longer to do, and they may have different things. Now, with regards to the traditional lender, what I'm talking about here is someone who can give you a commercial loan, not a residential consumer loan. All right, see, a residential consumer loan will check your credit. They're going to use their FICO score as a means determining whether you qualify for the loan. They're also going to check your debt to income ratio to see if you qualify for the loan. All right, and that's all based on Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae criteria. Whereas a traditional lender giving you a commercial mortgage, those things don't come up because they're commercial now. They're not backed by Freddie Mae or Fannie Mac or backed by the federal government. All right. So therefore, if you have a very bad credit score, like maybe it's below 620 or something like that, guess what? That's not deadly. You have a very bad debt to income ratio. Guess what? That's not deadly because they're going to look at, if it's going to be a rental property as an example, they're going to look at a debt service coverage ratio to see if you can actually pay the mortgage with the current rent that's going on, and they can go ahead and improve the loan based on that right there. All right. So I like dealing with this because community banks are best because you can actually talk to the actual vice president of lending or something like that. And get an answer right away. They can communicate via text message, via email. They're fast to respond, and you don't have to repeat your story because you have to keep on getting someone else on the phone when you call a big bank. All right. All right. Who else should be on your team? All right. Private investors. All right. Well, guess what? Well, if you get a hard money lender, a private lender, most likely they're going to need a down payment. Likewise, with a traditional lender, right? They're going to give you a loan, yes, but you're probably going to need a down payment. So how do you do massive volume of deals if you have a finite number of dollars in your bank account? Well, guess what? You can actually raise money through other partners and private investors, so that way we can do more volume. All right, someone who's cash plentiful, is looking for strong returns in real estate, easy to work with. Someone who's very dissatisfied with earning 0.5% in their bank account. I mean, with the Federal Reserve reducing interest rates to near zero, the interest rates on a savings account is going to be less than ever before. So do they really want to earn 0.25% in their savings account or maybe 0.5% in the money market account? Probably not. That's not too exciting. But if they have $100,000 of cash liquid in the bank and they want to earn 6, 7, 8, 9%, they can invest with you and have that secured by real estate. So that way they can go ahead and earn 18 times more or a lot more than the bank would offer. And it's backed by the real estate. Okay, someone who's easy to work with and can work with you passively without constantly bugging you. What's the update on a daily basis? All right, moving on to the next slide here. Now, of course, if you guys are going to be doing fix and flips or even buying whole properties where you made to fix certain things, you would want to have a good general contractor. Now, why do I say general contractor and not just contractor? Well, the difference is a general contractor is the manager of all the trades. So it'll be plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and building. All right, they will manage everyone underneath them to get the job done, and you talk to one person and one person only. All right, instead of having to manage multiple people, such as the HVAC person, and then the electrical person, and then the plumbing person, all right, and all those things you have to manage, that takes a lot of time. And the value of your time is not in managing the project. The value of your time as an investor is finding the next deal and raising the money for the next deal and having your general contractor manage the actual project. Okay, so what kind of qualities are you looking for in a general contractor? All right, you want a general contractor to understand what sells in a neighborhood. All right, is it going to be white cabinets or is it going to be cherry cabinets? Is it going to be a darker granite or is it going to be a lighter granite? Is it going to be a ceramic tile or is it going to be a porcelain tile or marble tiles? Okay, what's going to sell in that neighborhood? Okay, is it going to be a dark hardwood or is it going to be a lighter hardwood? So those kinds of things that they understand the neighborhood and what sells for, and also understand what each county where the property is. They understand the building codes on what qualifies to pass and what qualifies to not passing. So that way, when you go on the site visit before you buy the house, your general contractor can say, hey, listen, this bathroom was built without permits because they're doing it not to code. The location of the toilet is out of place. The door is opening in the wrong way. You know, the plumbing is not done correctly. The ceiling height does not meet criteria for having a finished basement. You know, all those kinds of things they would know that you may not have known. All right, they will advise you on what was not built to code and to permit, according to permits, and what qualifies today. And you can use that information to negotiate a better deal with the seller. And then, of course, at the end of the day, when they do correct the issues, they correct it properly. That will pass code for today's standards. All right. You also want someone who has strong relationship with county inspectors, who does the field inspection. So, you know, let's say you do demolition and then start doing framing and then electrical. Well, the inspector is going to come out to inspect the electrical and also inspect the plumbing to make sure it's done properly. If they already have a good relationship, the confidence level of the inspector with that contractor is high, and they may not be as tedious when it comes to the inspection and fixing things that could delay the project. What you want to do is have that project done as fast as possible and done correctly the first time without any rework, so that way you can sell the house fast and reduce your holding costs with all the interest payments you're paying for your mortgage. Okay. Also, someone who has a strong crew and get it done fast and get it done right. All right. The best people that I've met are referred by another investor, and not referred by an advertisement. What I mean by that is that, you know, for normal homeowners who don't do real estate for a living, what they generally do is they'll go ahead and find someone from Home Advisor or Angie's List, and those people pay a lot of money to be on that list, and so they have a lot of marketing costs, and so they pass on the marketing costs to the consumers and end up charging a whole lot of money. Well, our general contractors are not on those lists. They're referred by other investors, so therefore they spend no money on marketing for deals because we give them so much volume. They don't need to market for deals, and they stay very busy with us just by itself. Okay, and because they're not spending any money on marketing, they reduce the cost of their operations, they reduce the operation costs and pass those savings on to us, and so can renovate the deal at wholesale price instead of retail price. All right. So here's a couple of examples of what a good general contractor understands. All right. Someone who understands the difference between resale grade and rental grade. All right. So are you going to sell the house or are you going to rent the house? So if you're going to rent the house, obviously you're not going to put in the expensive stuff in there. All right, you can put in stuff that's, you know, that will pass code, that'll be good for the tenants, that's workable, but you won't be putting expensive stuff where the tenants can destroy and damage. All right. So in the resale grade, you can see here that we have custom cabinets, 42 inches, and they all have soft close drawers with brushed nickel hardware, granite countertops, and designer tiles on the backsplash, along with ceramic tiles on the flooring. All right, and also LED recessed lights all throughout the kitchen to make it resale. Now the rental grade, you can see here the differences in appliances. See, the stainless steel appliances are in the resale grade. All right, but the rental grade have white appliances that are much cheaper. Okay. Also, the cabinets here, you notice they're not new. They're just painted. So the cabinets, they were still in good working order. There's nothing wrong with them. So we just simply paint it, make it look fresh again, and then change the hardware. Also, when I remember when we bought this house here, the countertop was actually cracked. So we replaced the countertop with corium, something that's much cheaper than granite. Okay, and of course the sink is a regular sink. It's not a deep sink with a garbage disposal. It's, you know, it's a rental property. You put a garbage disposal unit in there, that's gonna be a maintenance nightmare because then you have to change that every so often if something gets clogged in there. And the tenants don't know how to use the garbage disposal unit. Okay, so it's best to not have one in the sink. You're not required to have one by code. But you save a lot of money from a rental's perspective. Okay, so that's the difference between the rental grade and a resale grade, and you want a contractor who fully understands the difference. In addition to that, all right, your contractor, a general contractor, needs to have a vision of what can be. All right, here's the example of a property we did last year in Southeast DC. It's a semi-detached house here, and you see here there's a tree blocking the view. The brick looks very old. There's landscaping that's overgrown, the vegetation overgrown everywhere. All right, but you have to have a contractor who knows how to turn something like this into something like this. All right, that's the same exact house 3 months later. So they painted the brick to make it look brand new. They removed that tree that was killing the curb appeal. They redid the landscaping. They painted the staircase and the sidewalk all the way to the front of the sidewalk. All right, replaced the windows. Painted where they need to be painted. It looks everything brand new again. It looks very, very fresh, like a brand new house. Okay, so someone who has the vision to do that. And you notice here they also removed the awning on the front door and make it look fresh again, because the awning is very dated. It looks like it's something out of the 80s or 70s. You have an awning, but they removed the awning to make it look very nice with a nice front door and has very good curb appeal. All right. Also, from an interior standpoint, what you don't want to do is walk into a house that looks like this and have the contractor be scared. The more you hear them complain about certain things, the more I know they're probably inexperienced in doing these deals. So what you want to do is have a contractor, you listen to them, okay? They walk into a property like this and they start complaining, you know they're probably not good. But if they're not complaining and they say, oh yeah, this can be done or this can be done, they're possibility focused, right? So so now you know this is a good contractor because they've done this before, and this is not their first deal. All right. I mean, over here and take a look at this picture. It's a lawnmower inside the property. There's not here in the picture, but there are 3 different weed whackers in there. I have no idea why there's so much, landscaping stuff in the living room of the property. And obviously this owner was a hoarder and left all that stuff there to rot for many, many years. And the house was vacant. Okay. Someone who can turn that into this. All right. That's the same exact room on almost the same exact angle. That wall that used to be there, all right, was removed to have an open concept kitchen. All right. And then from a different angle, all right, you see the cabinets and the kitchens and stainless steel appliances. All right, they're all in this. The same exact, by the way, guys, that's the same exact hardwood that was in the property. All we did was sand it down, refinish it with new stain, and also refinish it with polyethylene to make it glossy and look brand new again. And when you walk in, it's like the smell of brand new hardwood all over again. So it smells very new and very fresh. All right. All right. In addition to that, we're in a very, obviously our business, there's a lot of liability. So you want to have a good insurance broker who knows how to sell the right insurance for your fix and flip properties. All right. So they'll give you builder's risk and liability for situations where if someone tried to sue you or there's an injury in the product from your contractors, then you're covered with a bright insurance policy. Okay. Also, a good stager. So if you have a house that requires staging to make it sell faster, you want to have someone who knows and have stuff on hand that don't need to rent out, something that have in the warehouse to make it look good and people can visualize. I rarely use stagers, and the only time I use a stager if the floor plan of a house looks very odd, all right? Or maybe I know there's too much inventory in the marketplace in that neighborhood, and I want to have ours stand out. And so what we do is we have a stager to make ours look really good compared to the competition so we can have more traffic, all right? So a stager is going to be very good. And here's a couple of examples, all right? This is a townhouse we did in Woodbridge, and it was more of a traditional look because the hardwood was a little bit darker. And then the kitchen cabinets were also a little bit darker as well. So because the traditional look of all the stuff that's inside, she decided to have a traditional look with regards to the furniture. All right, so you can see here that the couch, the chairs, the pillows, even the wall arts and the decors all match with this red, brown, gold theme throughout the entire house. All right, so someone who knows how to stage not only the living room and the dining room like this, but also knows how to stage with props inside the bathroom. So this is the bathroom. The master bathroom is double sink. So because the cabinets were darker, all right, she went ahead and staged it with props and also towels that match along with what was in there already with the tiles and the cabinet colors and so forth. All right. Also, she has wall arts inside the thing. And once we sold the house and got it under contract, was close to settlement. About a few days before settlement, she went ahead and removed all the stuff and then repatched all the holes that were done in the wall. With the same paint color that we had there because we had extra paint there. So she patched up the holes, repainted it to look like brand new again for the new owner, okay? So that's the type of staging that you'll want on your business, okay? Also, a good property manager for those who are doing buy and hold, okay? People who are building long-term wealth through rental property, through depreciations of their of what they own, and also wants cash flow on a regular basis, okay? You want a property manager who knows and understands how to pre-screen quality tenants so that way they will pay rent on time. All right. And also, if there's a hardship like right now where people can't go to work and they have a hard time paying rent, then they know how to help the tenants go through some government assistance, such as unemployment or maybe qualifying for what was recently passed into law last Friday with the CARES Act, with the $2.2 trillion that they can use the stimulus money to help pay the rent. Okay. We want someone who minimizes landlord involvement. That way the landlord, someone like us, can focus on getting more deals instead of managing the existing deals they have. All right. And in the worst case scenario, if they need to do an eviction of a tenant, then they know how to do it on their own without us much involvement, to get that thing cash flowing again. Okay. So I want to share you guys an example, all right, of one of our rental properties. And here's an example in Woodbridge that we bought in BRRR. This is what we call a buy, renovate, refinance, rent strategy. That's what BRR stand for. We purchased the house distressed from a homeowner who had a tenant that was not paying rent. They destroyed the house, and the owner did not have the capital to renovate the house or sell for top dollar, so we sold it as is with all the problems. So we bought it for $115,000. We spent $23,000 onto the property with rental grade materials. So we fixed what was broken. We repainted the cabinets. We didn't use hardwood. We used laminate. We didn't use granite. We used corium. We didn't use ceramic tiles. We used just regular laminate and things that are maybe a mold for the shower. Something that's much cheaper for that aspect. Okay. We went ahead. Once the renovation was done, we had it appraised to get it refinanced. It was appraised at $215,000. We hired a property manager, to place the tenant to manage rent collection. Rented for $1,650 a month. It was cash flowing for us for many, many years for $300 a month. And when we refinanced it with the appraisal, we had an instant equity of $70,000 of increased net worth because it was appraised at $215,000, but our total in was only roughly $140,000 and some change. All right. So that was a great deal. It cash flowed for a while. We depreciated the value of the house for a while on our taxes to reduce our tax liability. And it was a great deal and a great experience. All right. And to go through a little bit more about property management, John Malatesi with PMI Fairfax was our property manager from that property. And I'd like to have him as a guest speaker share a couple of things on how he's helped people like us and other investors increase their rental portfolio. So Mr. Malatesi, you on the phone? You on the line? John, are you there? John, if you're speaking, you may be muted out because we can't hear you. Okay. So John, if you're having a little trouble, we can test out maybe later on. We try and get you at the end here, but we'll go ahead and continue on the presentation here, and hopefully we'll get you on the latter part. Okay. All right. But John, guys, he manages tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate all across the DMV area, and he's helped a lot of other investors achieve some great success by helping them reduce their management time on their existing portfolios so they can focus on new business and getting new deals under their belts. Okay. Who else should be on your team? Are other real estate investors. All right. All the ones who already have experience and who are willing to partner with you. Maybe they've done it longer than you have, and they're a little bit more. They have a little bit more cash in the bank. Or maybe other people who are willing to wholesale deals to you, or maybe they have it on a contract and they have too much going on. They can't take on another one, so they'll just give it to you for a small assignment fee. And some people who are willing to share their knowledge, okay? Because it's amazing that, when I first started, I met with a lot of other investors. I can sense the vibe that they're unwilling to share everything they know for fear that I might be their competition. And it's amazing that, we have over 700,000 pieces of real estate in the DMV area that are built 1970 and earlier. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And then you have this one individual who may be insecure because we might be the competition. All right. There's no way they can take on all 700,000 houses over a period of time. So, for those people who are unwilling to share their knowledge, I call them insecure, and they're afraid of competition. So for us, we're not insecure. Fortune Homes has been around for almost a decade. We're still doing deals, regardless if we share knowledge or not. And we welcome people like you to do deals with us, so that way we can share the wealth. All right, because we definitely cannot do it all by ourselves. And we were very focused on building a team, so that way we can share the wealth and pay it forward with other people who are on the line tonight, who can be able to do deals with us. Okay. All right, and then at the end of the day, guys, every team member that you guys have, you want to take a look at the core values, because that's going to be the foundation and philosophical way of you building your business, okay? You want to have people on your team who have integrity. What I mean by that is integrity of people doing the right thing, not whether they lie to you or not, all right? But people who are willing to do the right thing, even though it's harder than the other way, all right? It's not the easy thing, but it's the right thing. So people with integrity, all right? And of course, in order to attract people with integrity, you must first have integrity yourself, all right? So you got to have that quality, all right? Also, you want someone who's generous. You don't want people who are stingy and they count every nickel and dime for every single deal. I mean, if you can imagine, if me and Kurt Morton did the first deal And I said, hey, Kurt, can you go ahead and give me a percentage of your I mean, if you can charge me a specific percentage. And he starts nickel and diming like to 0.1%. That's called a clue. Okay. Someone who's not, who's looking forward to doing business with you long term and not just looking at that one deal. Because for me, I generally have a very generous heart. And if we end up doing very well in a particular deal, I don't mind sharing that wealth to some of our team members who help make it happen. People like our contractors, our property managers, or maybe even our agents and people like that. All right. I don't mind doing that because at the end of the day, at some point in time, there will be a deal that won't be so generous. There will be a deal that may go really bad and very sour, and you may only break even or maybe lose a little bit of money in that deal. And that day may come. And when and if it comes, you want a team member who is going to look out for you in bad times, and we can celebrate with you during good times. All right. So there are several deals that me and Kurt have done in the past where we did not make any money. We actually lost money, but he didn't charge full price for the commission. He actually did something a little bit better just to help us out. And of course, we'll never forget those things, and we hook him up on good times as well. Okay. Someone who's committed. All right. So, if you talk to other agents as an example, they're after high dollar real estate, such as, places in McLean or Vienna or North Arlington, because those houses are close to $1 million. And they want, of course, a higher commission based on the purchase price. Well, guess what? You want people who are willing to sell houses or do things for you, whether they have a high commission or not. So as an example, where, whether it be John Malatesta or Kurt Morton, he'll sell real estate that's worth $900,000 with the same energy as houses that's worth $150,000. All right, same marketing, same commitment, same work ethic, same everything, regardless of what the price tag is and how much you make money, because they're in it for the long haul and looking at the average money they make with you, and not just that one deal in particular. All right. Someone who's willing to look at a win-win relationship. If I win, they win. We don't want a win-lose relationship. We want to be able to win together. All right. Strong communication. So that way they know what's going on and prevent things from happening. Someone's very well organized. The last thing you want to do is you work with someone and you ask them a question in email and you ask them several times via text message and then they don't respond to you because they're so disorganized. You want someone who's organized to be able to respond to you clearly and concisely. Okay. Positive can-do attitude. So this is what we talked about earlier with the possibility-driven attitude. All right, and also responsible risk taker. All right, so they want to be able to help you take risk, but also earn some rewards, but be responsible and not jump in it when you shouldn't be jumping in it, and definitely jump in it when you should be jumping in it. Okay, so they'll give you that advice along the way. All right. So in your situation, guys, if you already have done real estate in the past several years, what happens if your team member falls short of these values? All right. What happens if maybe it's your family member or cousin or someone who's on your team right now because they're your family member, but they're falling short on these qualities? And that happens all the time. Okay. Well, guess what, guys? If you can't change the people around you, then guess what you need to do? You need to change the people around you. I've had the unfortunate experience of firing people that were very close to us before real estate because they did not perform well and didn't have these core values when we started working with them. They were good as friends, but when we started doing business together, for whatever reason, that relationship did not transfer over when it came to business. And I truly believe that when money is involved, if people's attitude changes, I really question their heart, if their heart's in the right place, especially if we have a past relationship before real estate or any business that you do. All right. So yeah, look out for that. All right. So now we finished the presentation here, and I apologize again for the technical difficulties. But what we're going to do right now is open it for questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Nicholas here or Ari to see if there's any questions that you guys may want to ask to myself, to John Malatesta, or even Kurt Morton. Go ahead and ask your question now, and then we're going to try to answer those questions. Nicholas, go ahead.
All right. So Alan Taylor says, during recessions, depressions, how is traditional lending affected? Slower, lower approval rate, less favorable items?
That's a great question. So let's go ahead. And talk about from different perspectives. Okay. So let's talk about the buyer's perspective. Let's say you have a house in the market right now, and you're trying to sell it to an end buyer. All right. What we've seen in the past is that even the Federal Reserve reduced interest rates to near zero. For whatever reason, mortgage interest rates have gone up in the past couple of weeks. And we've seen some people get declined because maybe they were pre-approved for 3.5%, but for whatever reason, when they tried to lock in their mortgage, it increased to 4% or above. And increased when that happens, their mortgage payments increases, and then the debt to income ratio is no longer in line, and they get declined. So when it comes to lower approval rating, most likely if the interest rates are affected. But in our situation here, there's not a lack of liquidity with the banks. such as the big banks like Citibank or Bank of America or Wells Fargo, there's not a lack of liquidity. They're actually pretty financially strong, and with the last stimulus package, the government is guaranteeing all the FHA loans and all the federally backed loan, VA loans, and so forth. So there's not a lack of liquidity. So the money is there to loan. They want to loan it out, but the question is, can the people could afford it with a higher interest rate based on what's going on? Now, from a perspective of buying a house or as an investor, commercial loans, I have not seen any changes with that, with the exception of one. All right, my private lender, when I bought a wholesale deal, if let's say if I bought a deal that was that had an assignment fee of $25,000, and it was on contract for $300,000, that means the total purchase price is $325,000. That generally would use the $325,000 total with the assignment fee as a purchase price to calculate the loans. So if they're going to calculate 80% of loan to cost, they will go ahead and give me 80% of the $325,000. For whatever reason, in the last couple of weeks, my private lender no longer can finance assignment fees. So if I'm going to buy a deal from a wholesaler, I actually have to come up with a cash of $25,000 to pay the wholesaler up front, and then they will base the 80% loan to cost from the $300,000 contract price. So I end up getting less financing and have a higher down payment. All right. So that's been the change that I've seen in the last couple of weeks from a private lending standpoint, and also from a traditional lending standpoint when it comes to sellers. All right. Hopefully that answers the question.
All right. He says thank you.
Okay, great. Next question.
All right. Next question is from Mr. Tai Trong. He asks, are you still doing deals now, or do you stop for now? Should he be careful with that approach?
Great question. I am after a lot of deals right now, because as the stock market goes up and down, people become more fearful, right? And for those who lived through the decade of the Great Recession in 2008 to 2010, they remember how fast real estate values dropped. And because they remember that, I remind them of that, and they want to sell today at a better price compared to waiting 6 months from now, all right? So what I found is that the sellers become more motivated if I remind them of what's going on in the marketplace. Would you rather get your cash now this price, or would you rather wait 6 months with uncertainty on where the market's going to be? And you've seen what the stock market's done in the last month. It's lost 30% of value just in the last month alone. Are you willing to risk losing 30% of real estate value? Now, for me, knowing real estate is totally separate than the stock market, right? The values of the real estate, I don't see it being as affected. There will be affected with there's government issuing stay-at-home work orders where people can't go out to look for houses and things like that. But when it comes to value, I don't see it affecting the value as much as before, right? Compared to the Great Recession. So yes, I am still looking for deals, and I'm using the excuse of the national crisis to be able to negotiate better deals and providing as justification on why my offer is what it is. So I actually am so much more conservative in my offer. So normally, if my normal offer for a deal was like $200,000, I'm offering something like $150 right now. And see what they say. And if they're okay with that and they want to do a counter offer, great, we'll have a conversation. But if that's too low, then then we can try and something else with a higher number. But I'm offering much more lower because of what's going on. And that gives me a great negotiating position and a position of strength to negotiate better deals. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. All right. This next question is from Jaquette. Oh, hi, Jaquette. All right. She says, I know DC is a hot area and you wouldn't recommend doing buy and hold due to DC's tenants laws, but would you recommend doing fix and flips and wholesaling?
Great question. I love DC when it comes to fix and flip. The reason why DC is a great marketplace is because you can actually buy things so much lower compared to Virginia. And the reason why is because the houses are older. DCRA, when it comes to permitting, is not as friendly as, I say, Fairfax County. Or Prince William County, right? And they have more volume out there because they're more densely populated. So things may be a little bit more stringent, a little bit more slow, but it's worth it because you can have a bigger spread from buying a DC row house compared to you bought the same thing out in Virginia, all right? So the spread comes to be a lot higher, and the renovation is more challenging because the house is older. You got to have a contractor who knows DC and knows DC well. They got to know how to change cast iron plumbing. You got to know how to remove sheetrock with metal nets with wood behind the wall and install recessed lights. And this is not regular drywall, okay? This is really hardcore stuff. You gotta know, when the house has been sitting there for a while and rotting, they gotta know how to deal with it structurally. Or maybe it's, a basement where the ceiling height is very low. They gotta know how to underpin, so that way they have a legal a ceiling height, so that we can finish the basement and install a bathroom and a recreation room down there. So yes, I love DC. I actually have 2 renovations going on in DC right now. Both of them are condo conversions. One is a 5-unit condo conversion, and one is a 2-unit condo conversion, all Northwest DC, roughly half a mile apart from one another. Yeah, so deep, I love it, and I'm still looking for more. Okay.
All right. I actually missed this question. It's from Mr. Steve Rehard. He asks, what do you believe will happen with price levels and inventory as we work through the coronavirus situation?
Okay, great question. So a number of different things have been happening. There's a lot of moving parts. As of today and yesterday, I believe, I'm not sure about Virginia, but I saw something or heard something from Maryland where the governor has issued a release order where if people are under contract to buy or sell real estate right now, they can back out of the contract without any penalty. So that obviously is going to affect sellers, and that's going to affect buyers, because I mean, if people don't have a place to live, maybe their lease is ending from their apartment, they need to move to a house or something like that. I mean, things got to move forward still. So I guess my answer to that is that life will still continue. But with regards to the transactions and the values, I don't see it being as affected. Now, there will be a slight correction, all right, especially with mortgage rates and things like that, when people are unable to afford the higher mortgage rates. But when it comes to value, it won't be as bad. I don't think it'll be as bad as 2009, 2010, when there was a financial crunch and people could not get access to liquidity. And the banks were financially strapped. So therefore, they had to foreclose on the property, sell them at a discount because they had a lack of capital to finance their operations. And so right now, because the liquidity is strong in the banks, there's no need for them to sell things and foreclose things at a discount. They're still working with things in situations where the value will not drop. Remember, in 2009, the reason why real estate value dropped so much was because there's a huge amount of foreclosures, and the banks were hungry and motivated to get things off their books, and they needed cash and cash quickly. Whereas now, because they have a strong financial statement, they don't need to do that as motivated. So the banks are not motivated sellers to this day. Back in 2009, all right, the banks were motivated sellers, which drove down the entire marketplace. All right. So hopefully that answered that question.
Okay. All right. He says, thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right. And this question is from Mr. Carlos Portillo. He asks, as a new investor in real estate and not having done a flip yet, when I go in front of a private lender to raise the money, what is the main thing that the private lender is looking at to feel safe about lending me money for my first flip? Also, what title company do you use and what attorney do you deal with?
Okay, great question. So with regards to the lenders, let's tackle that one first. If it's your first deal, they're going to scrutinize you more often. More than at the beginning than they will once you have a relationship. All right. So if they know you've gone through training already, such as our seminars, and you've attended Fortune Home, training events and things like that, they know that you're less of a risk because you kind of know what you're doing, right? Whereas you knew off the street just watching YouTube or HGTV, they're going to ask you what's your experience level. And they say, well, I just learned how to flip from HGTV. That's going to be a big red flag. Okay. Also, but since it's your first deal, they will check your credit score, but the credit score will not be deadly. Okay. So if you have a good credit score, that's good. If you have an average credit score, that's not bad either. Okay. So they're going to check that. Then they're going to value your asset. You're going to look at your renovation plan. They're going to say, okay, what's the value of the house after the renovation? What do you plan to do with it? How much is your renovation estimate? They're going to ask all these questions, and you should have those answers up front to make sure that you seem organized and what you're doing, and they can give you exact what scenarios they're going to loan for you. So generally, they will loan what we call 80% loan to cost. Okay, so loan to cost meaning that if the house is $100,000 and then the renovation cost is $50,000, the total cost is $150,000. They will loan 80% of $150,000, which is $120,000. So you have to come up with $30,000 as a down payment plus closing costs, and also a little bit of money in the bank to be able to start your contractor. And they're going to finance your renovation through milestones along the way through renovation draws as you hit different milestones. So as an example, you finish demolition, they'll give you the first draw. Then you finish framing and plumbing and electrical, they give you the next draw, and so forth. And that's how they finance renovation. And once it's all done, once it's out of the house, then the loan's paid off, and then your proceeds are to go into your bank account as profits later on. The second question, I believe, was about a title company. Title companies that we've used, if it's DC, we love District Title. District Title is very experienced when it comes to title work, when it comes to DC. With every other state, with regards to Maryland and also in Virginia, I love Pinnacle Title. They're based out of Rockville. They do remote settlements, so you don't have to go there, and you can save a whole lot of time by not driving across the river. If you live in Virginia and you have to go to Rockville, that's going to waste a lot of time, but they can actually go to you for remote settlements. Now, I know in the past couple of weeks, they have been working from home from the stay-at-home work orders, stay-at-home orders from the governor. So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with regards to settlement, because they still need to send a notary out to the seller and also the buyer. So that's a question I probably want to ask them on how they're going to close deals from this day forward, since they're all at stay-at-home orders and can't meet in the office. Okay, and I believe there was another question. There's a title company and there's a third one.
The next question was in regards to what attorney do you deal with?
Oh, attorney. Okay. Well, I use several different attorneys, and it all depends on the situation. So if you want to, you can send Nicholas an email after this and let me know what kind of questions you have from a legal standpoint, and we can do an introduction email to that attorney who's proficient in that area of law that you need. Okay. So what I don't want to do is send you a heart surgeon if you need brain surgery, right? So we want an attorney who specializes in the area of law that you want and licensed in the state that you're going to do business in. Okay. Go on to the next question.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay. Now, I do want to announce also, if anyone's having questions here, but I do want to announce that we do, even though there's a stay-at-home order in Virginia, we will be doing an open house at one of our deals in Annandale tomorrow. If you guys are interested in going to the open house to see that deal, it's a great deal. If you're a brand new rehabber, fix and flip person, this is the best deal to go into because it's so easy. All right. All you gotta do is change the kitchen, change the bathroom, carpet, and the paint. You don't have to do anything structural. You don't have to change the HVAC. You don't have to change the windows or hot water heater or roof. All that stuff is in good condition. And the only thing you gotta do is do a kitchen remodel, and then the bathrooms. It's very easy. So if you guys are interested in that information, I believe Nicholas had already sent out that email earlier today or yesterday with regards to the open house. So make sure if you're interested in going out to Annandale to look at the house between 12 and 1 tomorrow, go ahead and RSVP to the email address on that email, and we'll make sure we add you to the list to go out there. So it's probably going to go very fast. We already have a handful of people, experienced investors, going out to the open house tomorrow. We definitely would love to see you guys there as well.
John, we got one more question.
Okay.
From Jennifer Bond. She asks, do you see yourself purchasing more buy and holds than fix and flips this year?
Great question. I don't want to say more or less. I would say the same. We haven't changed our business plan at all. We're still going to do buy and holds. We're still going to do fix and flips. The only difference is that we're negotiating better because of the situation going on. And of course, we had to prepare ourselves with masks and sanitizers and latex gloves. Now it's funny because, sure you've heard of the N95 mask shortage. And when they announced that shortage, it was funny because no one could buy it online, and Amazon was charging like $300 a pack or something like that, if I remember correctly. But we have boxes of these in our garage just because of our rehabbing business. So if you guys have been rehabbing for a while, I'm sure you have a box too, and you guys are already taken care of with that aspect. So we do operate a little bit differently. Obviously, we do with our social distancing. We're a little bit more careful to make sure we don't contract the coronavirus or maybe spread any diseases to other people. And we want to make sure that we operate under the guidelines of what CDC is advising for the entire country. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question.
All right, I believe that's all the questions that we have.
Okay, great. Well, the next thing on our slides is going to be the raffle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Ari and Nicholas on this raffle here, who's going to win the 30-minute mentoring session.
Okay, so we always do this every meetup, but since we are doing this virtually, we have here a roulette where I have put in everybody's name that came in around 7:05, and that was the cutoff. So I will go ahead and click it, and whoever is chosen, I will go ahead and contact you and schedule a day and time that would work for both you and Jan for the 30-minute session. Okay, I have no music, but I'll just pretend there's music playing in the background. Sheldon Davis. I'll go ahead and send you an email later on. Please keep a lookout for my email. My email is support@fortunehomesteam.com. Thanks and congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, Sheldon Davis, congratulations. Look forward to talking to you for 30 minutes. And what I would do before that meeting is make sure you have a list of questions ready. If you're already an experienced investor, we can talk about how we can work together. If you have not done your first deal yet, definitely have some questions ready on what you'd like to do, and hopefully I can help you get started in the right path. Okay, so congratulations again to Mr. Sheldon. All right, so going back to our slides here. All right. For those who are on social media, make sure you go to our Facebook page and like us, because we'll be posting things much more regularly now, since we've been doing a lot of things more virtually. It's funny because I'm not a Facebook person, and I'm not even a social media person. I have a Facebook account, not because of me, but my wife created it for me. So I don't even manage that. Okay. So, but if you guys are in there, Ari and Nicholas, who is heading up our marketing, there's going to be a lot of good content there in the near future. So make sure you like that page. All right. Also, I want you to have a very, very special announcement. We're going to have a special live and virtual event on April the 22nd. Now, this is not part of a regular meetup. This is something that I announced at our last holiday party in December. And we had a delay in launching it because of the coronavirus issue and also technical issues that we had to overcome with people not, working where they're supposed to work because they're all doing social distancing. So we had a delay in launching it. We delayed it for a whole month. And so we're going to launch on April 22nd, and it's going to be a lot of great content. So we don't have a link for it out here, but please look out within the next week or so. Look out for an email from Nicholas or Ari on how to RSVP for this event. And we want to go ahead and take this to a more national level. So we're not only going to advertise it to our people like you and our meetup, but we're going to be advertising it out to nationally as well, to people outside our marketplace. Okay, so look very excited about that. All right. Last but not least, next month we'll also be doing a virtual meetup as well, and it's going to be on May the 6th at 7 p.m. And Ari's actually going to send a little link here that you guys can click on to RSVP today. We actually have a guest speaker with that's actually this gentleman here, Mr. Jeremy Nix. He's been with us for the last few years, and he's very, very good. He's had a great production team, great experience with regards to DC. He's actually the one helping us construct a 5-unit condo conversion and a 2-unit condo conversion out in DC. He's done several deals with us in the past, and it's been a great experience. He's going to be sharing with us exactly what he does as a contractor and the things that he looks for to help people like us negotiate a better deal. And he's, every time I walk with him on a property, there's something new that I learn. I don't pretend to know everything, all right? But he's in the field of contracting and construction, and he sees things that I may not see. I see things on a regular basis, but he sees things more often because he's in this business and field. Great person to have on your team. So make sure you RSVP right now to get yourself on the registration list for the event on May the 6th, okay? So with that, guys, thank you very much for joining us in the meetup. We'll be sending a thank you email out later tonight for you to RSVP, continue to RSVP for the next event, and also what we're planning to do for April 22nd. So with that, guys, thank you very much for joining us. God bless you guys, and see you again next month. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.